So we'll start. So he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, the first link concerning what relates to the place and the time of revelation. And we said he's using time and place here to basically represent the broader idea or concept of circumstances of revelation. And then he said that he is going to speak about this topic in 12 segments. Before we get into that, we need to understand what is the importance of knowing some of what he's going to talk about. Like, what is the importance of knowing the verses that are Madani versus the verses that are Makki, the surahs that were revealed in Medina, as opposed to those that were revealed in Makkah al-Mukarramah, or those that were revealed at night, others revealed at day, those revealed while he was on travel, those revealed while he was not on travel. Why is this important? So the importance comes from the usage. What do we gain from this? So one of the main things that we gain from this is the fuqaha can understand the progression of the law. You can know nasikh from the mansukh ayat. You can know which verses came later to abrogate the rulings of earlier verses. So if you examine the Qur'an and you find that some verses are indicating a legal matter here, and another one is indicated on the same matter, a different ruling, you can be able to, if you cannot sort it out, then you can say one is nasikh, the other is mansukh, based on knowing which one came later, which one came earlier. This is one of the more obvious points that we gain from understanding this. But there are other benefits that we get from this. One of the benefits we can get is we can see the progression of the institutionalization of the religion itself. So we can see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through revelation, through the using the Prophet ﷺ as his representative on the earth, how within that 23-year period, he was able to transform the society through the Qur'an. We can see, for example, at what stage did some moral concepts started to be introduced. At what stage did certain legal things started to be implemented. We can see how the Prophet ﷺ even established I'll use this word very loosely, state. Because statehood is not really something compatible with Islamic law, but we'll just use that word. How did he implement the Medinan state? What did he start first? How did he bring about a law that completely changed Arabian society? For example, the Arabian society was a tribal society. Law existed within tribes, and then there was intertribal relationship. That was removed by the Prophet ﷺ. You're no longer tribes, you're one Muslim nation. Now the interaction is not between tribes, it's between one Muslim entity versus whatever entities exist, be it tribal or be it the state. For example, when we were going to interact with a Roman state or something like that. So it was an incredible change of the way family works, the way society works, the way state works. How did he go about doing that? So if you understand the history of the ayat, which were revealed first, then you sort of get an insight. How did he go about establishing what he established? For example, in Mecca, hardly any legal rules came down. Whatever came, most of it was directly to the Prophet ﷺ himself, not for his followers. He moves to Medina, and in one of the lines of the poems that we have, he's going to mention that the first the first surah revealed in Medina was the surah Mutaffifin, Wailul lil Mutaffifin. Now the first set of laws start to come, and it was not individual laws. The first thing that was revealed was Surah Mutaffifin, and that is in this new society, that we're establishing, one of the first things we're going to focus on is how you interact with each other in business. In other words, that's the first legal, the first set of laws that started to come to the Prophet ﷺ in the establishment of Madina al-Munawwara is laws concerning financial transaction. These type of insights you gain from knowing how the verses came. Medina, Makkah, night, day. One of the other important things that we gain is that the Qur'an is described in the Qur'an as mutashabih mathani. Allah Azza wa Jal sends down ahsan al-hadith, the best speech. Ahsan al-hadith, the best speech. The word hadith means speech generally, but from the etymology of the word, it emphasizes on one aspect of speech. You'll find this a lot in every language, or not every, but a lot of languages, including Arabic, is that many words can mean the same thing, but if you examine the etymology, they are emphasizing different aspects of the same thing. So kalam can mean speech, but kalam comes from the Arabic word kalima, which means to cut. So it emphasizes the idea that speech is a combination of different segments of things. Like it's not a one-shot idea. Hadith, which also means speech, emphasizes on the fact that it's hadath, that every sound is a new one that builds upon the other one. So it's hadith, it's constantly being renewed. Even within one word, each letter is new. Each letter comes out, each sound is produced anew, one after the other. I can't recycle my speech. If I write a book, I can cut part of the book and paste it in a different place, because the same thing I want to repeat. But let's say I said something before and I need to repeat that. I can't. There's no cut and paste. There's no place, no archive where I can go back and find that sound and just repeat. Everyone is new. So Ahsan al-Hadith is saying Allah Azza wa Jal revealed the best speech, but He's emphasizing the idea that it's coming, there is an aspect of the Qur'an that relates to time and place. And so that is being emphasized in this ayah. But then Allah says it is mutashabih mathani. That though the Qur'an is hadith, though the Qur'an is speech that is coming one after the other in real time, as the Prophet ﷺ is living among his companions and interacting with the non-Muslims, the Qur'an is coming within that context. And it is coming within a context of place. It's Arabia at a certain time. It is Mecca at a certain time. So that time and place factor is there. But it is also coming to a human being. It's coming to a man. Yet, it's hadith in that sense, that it's new and it's relating to actual time and place. It's coming to an actual human being. But at the same time, Allah says it is mutashabih. It resembles, everything of the Qur'an resembles the other part of it.
What's the literal meaning of mutashabih?
Mutashabih means to resemble. Shabaha, which means to resemble. Now what the Qur'an is saying here, it's an incredible point, is that from Surah Al-Fatiha to Surah Al-Nas, the language of the Qur'an resembles one another. In the style, in the level, it never drops in the level. In the eloquence of the Qur'an, just the language, not content. Because content relates to what was happening at the time. But examine the language of the Qur'an. Now, what this is hinting at is, if this Qur'an is coming to a human being, sometimes it came at night, sometimes at day, sometimes in Mecca, some in Medina, some when he was on his bed, some when he was active, some when he was in travel, some when he was not in travel. Yet there's a consistency in it. In other words, you can't see the change of a human temperament behind the Qur'an. If it was coming from a human being, then you would be able to notice that change. When he was at 40 years old, a 40-year-old man's speech is not the same as a 63-year-old man's speech. Especially if when he was 40, he was a shepherd, growing up, doing his travels for business. But when he was 63, he would have fought several battles. He is now the political authority of an entire state. He is now married to more than one wives. He had children that he lost, most of them. A man who had all that experience, his speech would change when he's 63 than a man who's 40 and didn't experience any of that. Right? As human beings now, if we take our primary school books, high school books, and go read a composition that we wrote in high school, we would cringe at it now. Right? Because you're noticing, how immature I was back then. How weak my language was back then. How wordy it was. How you would edit the whole thing, you might scrap the whole thing. If somebody asks you to write on the same topic today, you won't reuse that. You'll scrap the entire thing. Why? Because you can see that behind that, it was a whole different human being. Different in maturity level, difference in experience, different in the use of language. But the Qur'an is saying, this came across 23 years. Some in one place, some in a different place. Some at night, some at day. Some in travel, some in non-travel. Yet it is mutashabihun mathani. Yet the consistency that you can find in the language, that is evidence that it is not coming from the man who was reciting it. He was not the one producing it, because you don't notice a change in linguistic tone and you don't find a human temperament behind that. So that's also one of the things we gain from knowing that some of the Qur'an were revealed in different time, different places, different circumstances. So with that we'll enter, he said, Al-awwal wa-thani, al-makki wal-madani. So the first and the second, because he said he's going to talk about it in 12 points. So the first and the second of those 12 points are the Makkiyah and the Madaniyah. The Meccan surahs and the Madani surahs. We have a list in the note. We actually listed what he mentioned, the verses and the surahs that he mentioned in the poem. There are 21 surahs in the Qur'an that are agreed that they are Madani surahs, and 74 that are agreed upon to be Makki surahs. And among what they differ on, if you include the differences of opinion, then you will come up to 2985. So what is agreed upon is 2174, meaning 21 being Madani and 74 being Makki. If you include what is differed upon, then you come up to 29 being Madani and 85 being Makki. And within the Makki surahs, there are 40 Madani verses that are interjected. Within Makki surahs, you will find 40 individual Madani verses. That the one ayah alone was revealed in Medina, and then that is placed in a Makki surah. So except that one ayah, the rest of the surah would be Makki. That one ayah was revealed in Medina. Because remember, the revelation didn't come in the same order of the Mus'haf. The order came later on. So among the Makki surahs, you'll find 40 Madani verses that are interjected. And you'll find 5 Makki verses interjected within the Madani surahs. 5 Makki verses in Madani surahs, 40 Madani verses in Makki surahs.
So what's the reason? What's the reason?
That
The reason to
Allahu A'lam. That's just the way that Jibreel recited it to the Prophet ﷺ. So the reason why the Mus'haf is arranged in the way it is arranged, we don't know. So the poet, rahimahullah ta'ala, he started that, he said, مَكِّيُّهُ مَا قَبْلَ هِجْرَةٍ نَزَلْ وَالْمَدَنِيُّ مَا بَعْدَهَا وَإِنْتَسَلْ. So he said that the Makki are those that were revealed before the migration. And the Madani are those that were revealed after the migration, in case you ask. Now, this is one definition of the Makkiyah versus the Madaniyah, which is the one deemed more correct by the ulama, or majority of the ulama. That when we say Makki and Madani, we're basically talking about two time periods, not two places. We're talking about the time periods. The time period that would be considered Makki, in other words, while the Prophet ﷺ was still living in Mecca, even if the revelation came outside of Mecca. And then Madani is after the Hijrah. So even if the actual place was not Medina, so even if it was Al-Hudaybiyah or something like that, even if it's outside, it's called a Madani surah. Some say that it actually means the place. Whatever is revealed in Mecca, whatever was revealed in Medina, the place. But then on that position, you'll have a difficulty to include all of the revelation during that time period, but not directly in the places. So Mecca and Medina, Makkiyah, Madaniyah, we're talking about two time periods, not two exact locations. And when he says that the Madaniyah are those that were revealed after Hijrah, he meant, or what he means is, after the Hijrah began. Because the Hijrah took a while to complete. It's not like today. It's not like you jump on a plane and within an hour you're in. The flight now, ordinary flight time between Makkah and Medina is like 45 minutes. We're not talking about that. The Hijrah took some time. So we're talking when the Hijrah started. So anything revealed during Hijrah would be Madani. Would not be Makki. So anything that, so when he said the Madani, وَالْمَدَنِيُّ مَا بَعْدَهَا, Madani is what happened after it, not after its completion. After it began. So the moment the Hijrah started, the actual physical Hijrah, anything after that is considered a Madani revelation, not a Makki revelation. So you'll have, anyway, so we give that. So based on that definition, verses like وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ, and verses like إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تُؤَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا, these are Madani verses, though they were revealed in Makkah al-Mukarramah. But they were revealed in Makkah after Hijrah. And then he said, anyway, before we move on, knowing the Makki and the Madani, knowing which surahs are Makki, which are Madani, we can know this either by textual evidences or by ijtihad, by the exercise of reason. So those that are known by textual evidences, most of the textual evidences are mutawatir. The mutawatir narration is a narration that is transmitted from a group of people to another group, to another group, to another group, from the beginning of the chain to the ending of the chain, whereby it removes doubt concerning the veracity of it, and the first link is narrating based on presence. And they were there, not Yani, you get that, right? I saw, I was there, he told me. That indicated presence, you were there. But if the first link says Qala Rasulullah, then it's not mutawatir. If they just said the Prophet said, it's like, how do you know? Like, did you witness? You want to know that you witnessed that statement. So most of what we know from texts, the texts are mutawatir, and some are sahih, some are just rigorously verified, though not mutawatir. And when we use ijtihad, it is based on some circumstantial indicators. So we use some qara'in, some indicators that would indicate whether it's Makki or Madani. So some of those indicators would be things like any ayah that says Ya ayyuhan nas, it is Makki. Any ayah that says Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, addressing all of humanity, that was revealed in Makkah al-Mukarramah. As opposed to any revelation, any ayah that says Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. Anything that says Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu was revealed in Medina, because it's now addressing the Muslim community that has been established in Medina. And there's ikhtilaf in Surah Al-Hajj. Anything that says Kalla, if we find Kalla in the Qur'an, then it's Makki. And Kalla, that word Kalla, occurs 33 times in the Qur'an. All of it you'll find in the second half of the Mus'haf, and all of those surahs are Makki. 33 times, all of it you'll find now in the arrangement of the Mus'haf, you'll find it in the second half, and all of it is Makki. Anything that talks about the story of Adam and Iblis is Makki. Anything that talks about the story of the people of the past is Makki. And anything that talks about the ahkam of the Sharia, the rulings of the Sharia and inheritance law are Madani. So then he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, فالمدني أولة القرآن مع أخيرتيه وكذا الحج تبع. So he said that the first two chapters of the Qur'an are Madaniyah, as well as the last two. Al-Hajj follows it in that. Means Surah Al-Hajj is also Madani. When he said the first two chapters of the Qur'an, he is excluding Surah Al-Fatiha. So the first two chapters after Surah Al-Fatiha. Because Surah Al-Fatiha, in this regard, is considered as a muqaddimah of the Qur'an. It's an introduction to the Qur'an. And according to majority of the ulama, to combine two separate narrations concerning it, they say it was revealed twice. Because in one sound narration, it said it was revealed in Medina. In another sound narration, it said that it was revealed in Mecca. So to combine between the two, the ulama say that it was revealed twice, in Medina and in Mecca. Because the principle of majority of the scholars of Usul al-Fiqh is that if we have two opposing sound narrations, the first attempt is to keep both of them. So if there's a way to reconcile between the two and not ignore one of the two, then we try to do that. And so once there's a way to combine them, then we'll work with both narrations. And the way to combine them is to say it was revealed once in Mecca and it was revealed once in Medina. So when he said the first two of the Qur'an, first two chapters, he means Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. So these are Madani. And then he said Surah Al-Hajj is also Madani. And there's ikhtilaf here. There is a narration from Mujahid, from Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that said it is Makkiyah except the last 3 verses. So that's just an ikhtilaf, but majority say that it is Madani. And then he said, مائدة مع ما تلت أنفال براءة والرعد والقتال. Then Surah Ma'idah is Madani, Surah Al-Anfal is Madani, Surah Tawbah is Madani, Surah Ra'd is Madani, and Surah Qital, which is Surah Muhammad, is Madani. وتاليتا والحديد والنصر قيامة وزلزلة والقدر. And then what follows Al-Qital is also Madani. So if you look at the list, we have where is it? Al-Qital. Then you have Al-Fathu wal-Hujurat. So Al-Fathu wa Al-Hujurat are also Madani. And then he said وَالْحَدِيدُ وَالنَّصَرُ, Surah Hadid and Surah Al-Nasr. And then he says Al-Qiyamah. Al-Qiyamah. Now here there's a problem. And we put it in the list, but we're actually supposed to change that. So in the poem he says Qiyamah, and this is how some copies of the poem in the manuscripts, this is what we find. But Qiyamah, there's an agreement among the ulama that Qiyamah is Makki. There's some weak narrations that it's Madani, but all of the sound narrations say that it is Makki. Al-Qiyamah, La uqsimu biyawmil qiyamah. But Qayyimah, Surat Al-Qayyimah, وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ, that by agreement is Madani. So the suspicion is that somewhere in the writing of the poem, some of the scribes made a mistake, and instead of writing Qayyimah, they wrote Qiyamah, and then other manuscripts probably were based on that copy. So that's how we have this, many manuscripts saying, yani having this mistake. Another possibility also is that the author made that mistake. But so change that to Qayyimah, and this the word Qayyimah is referring to that verse, ذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ. So that surah is Madani, while Surah Al-Qiyamah, La uqsimu biyawmil qiyamah, is Makki. Just an alif. Yeah, just one alif is missing. So because they won't write with the vowels. So Qayyimah would just look exactly the same as Qiyamah without the alif. It could also be a smudge, because that happened a lot. And then he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَالنُّورُ وَالْأَحْزَابُ وَالْمُجَادِلَةِ. So you can say mujadila, or you can say mujadala. وَسِرْ إِلَى التَّحْرِيمِ وَهِيَ دَاخِلَةِ. So Surah Al-Nur, Surah Ahzab, Surah Al-Mujadila or Al-Mujadala, يعني قد سمع الله قول التي تجادلك في زوجها. These are all Madani surahs. وَسِرْ إِلَى التَّحْرِيمِ, and go on to Tahrim, يعني from Mujadala all the way to Surah Al-Tahrim, all of it are included. All of these are Madani surahs. So Mujadala, Al-Hashr, Mumtahina, Al-Saf, Al-Jumu'ah, Al-Munafiqun, At-Taghabun, and At-Talaq, and At-Tahrim. So these are all Madani surahs. So he says, وَمَا عَدَى هَذَا هُوَ الْمَكِّيُّ. Whatever is besides this, anything other than these mentioned, are Makki. على الذي صح به المروي, based on the sounder narrations, which means that there are ikhtilaf. There are differences among the ulama concerning some of them, but based on the most reliable narrations, everything besides these that we mentioned are Makki. So you may find some narrations that suggest otherwise, but you'll find sounder narrations that would concur with what we have mentioned. So based on this list, the Madani are 29 surahs and the Makki are 85. And then after that, he moves on to the next 2 of the 12 segments that he is going to talk about the circumstance of revelation. So he said, وَالثالث وَرَابِعُ الْحَضَرِيُّ وَالسَّفَرِيُّ. So the third and the fourth are those revealed during travel and those revealed while not on travel. So he said, وَالسَّفَرِيُّ كَآيَةِ التَّيَمُّمِ مَائِدَةً بِذَاتِ جَيْشٍ فَاعْلَمِ. So the first is the ayah, the verse concerning tayammum, that is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. And it was revealed at that Jaysh. There's a place called that Jaysh, which is close to Al-Madina Al-Munawwara, it's close to Dhul Hulayfa. Dhul Hulayfa, the place where people take ihram. People were making Hajj or Umrah from Al-Madina. The miqat of their ihram is Dhu Al-Hulayfa. There's a famous masjid there now. So he's saying that close to that is this place called Dhatu Jayshin, and that's where the verse of tayammum was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was in travel. And this is based on the narration where Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said that they were on a journey with the Prophet ﷺ and they stopped at that Jaysh and she lost her necklace, and the verse of tayammum was revealed at that spot. So he said that Jaysh. أو هي بالبيداء ثم الفتح في كراع الغميم يا من يقتفي. Or it may have been revealed at Al-Bayda. The same verse. Either it was revealed at that Jaysh or Al-Bayda, which is close to that Jaysh, is also a place very close to Dhul Hulayfa. So it might have been there, and that's based on a different narration that was collected by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah ta'ala from the narration of Zayd ibn Aslam, from the narration of his father radiyallahu ta'ala anhum jami'a. And this is the position that was revealed in that Jaysh. The first opinion was the one supported by Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullahu ta'ala, the famous sharih of Sahih Bukhari. At the end of the day, whether it was revealed in that Jaysh or Al-Bayda, it was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was on travel, not while he was resident. ثم الفتح, and then Surah Al-Fath was revealed in a place called Qura' al-Ghamim. And Qura' al-Ghamim is it's between Mecca, it's maybe about 3 miles from Mecca al-Mukarramah. Ya man yaqtafa, yani whoever is seeking this sort of information. وَبِمِنَا اتَّقُوا وَبَعْدُ يَوْمًا وَتُرْجَعُونَ أَوْ لِهَذَا الْخَتْمَةِ. Oh, by the way, when he said Ma'idah, the verse of tayammum in Ma'idah, it is to exclude the verse of tayammum in Surah An-Nisa. So the verse of tayammum in Surah Nisa was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was not in travel, by agreement. The one in Ma'idah is what he's talking about. Then he said, at Mina, the verse, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. This was revealed in Mina, which is, everybody knows Mina as one of the places of the Hajj. أو لهذا الختمة, and he recited to the end. In other words, the entire ayah was revealed at Mina. ويوم فتح آمن الرسول لآخر السورة يا سؤول. That he said that يوم فتح, the day of the conquest of Makkah al-Mukarramah, the verses, the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون, to the end of the surah, those verses were revealed on the day of the conquest of Makkah al-Mukarramah. So again, revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was in travel. وَيَوْمَ بَدْرٍ سُورَةِ الْأَنْفَالِ مَعَ هَذَانِ خَصْمَانِ وَمَا بَعْدُ التُّبَعِ. So he said that on the day of Badr, on the day of the battle of Al-Badr, Surah Al-Anfal was revealed. And this is based on the apparent meaning of the hadith narrated by Ibn Jubayr from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and this was collected, or it was narrated by Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. Also Hadani Khasman, which is the 19th verse of Surah Al-Hajj, until the ending of it, was also revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was in travel. And then he said, إِلَى الْحَمِيدِ ثُمَّ إِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَعَاقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا عُوقِبْتُمْ. Hadani Khasmani, that ayah, until the word Hamid. So until وَهُدُوا إِلَى الطَّيِّبِ مِنَ الْقَوْلِ وَهُدُوا إِلَى الصِّرَاطِ الْحَمِيدِ. Until that, all of this was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was in travel. Also the verse, وَإِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَعَاقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا عُوقِبْتُمْ بِهِ وَلَإِنْ صَبَرْتُمْ لَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لِلصَّابِرِينَ, which is the 126th ayah of Surah Al-Nahl. Was also revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was in travel. It was revealed, he said, بِأُحُدٍ. It was revealed at Uhud. وَعَرَفَاتٍ رَسَمُوا الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. And at Arafat, during the Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ, the verse, الْيَوْمُ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. This was revealed at that point, while the Prophet ﷺ was at Arafat. This is also based on a hadith. It's collected by Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala from the narration of Umar ibn Al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu warda, who narrated the story of the Hajj and the Prophet ﷺ gathering the people at Arafat, and this ayah was revealed there. Then he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, Al-Khamis was-Sadis, the 5th and the 6th. I think now we're going to go to the notes for lesson 4. So he said, you have that? The new set of notes? Okay. So the 5th and the 6th. وَسُورَةُ الْفَتْحِ, 5th and 6th, al-layliyu wa an-nahari. Those that were revealed by night and those that were revealed by day. And the reason he has night before day, you'll find in some books they'll say day and then night. In some books will say night and day, whenever they want to talk about night and day. And that's because there's an ikhtilaf, there's a difference among the ulama concerning which is best. Is the day better than the night, or is the night better than the day? So some of them will say the night is better. The best time on earth would be Laylatul Qadr, and it occurs at night. Others will say day because, and they'll give their reasoning. Really nothing is built on it in terms of fiqh or anything like that, but it's a debate that they have. And they bring out very strange things. It's an interesting debate to read, but that's why he says night before day. So he said, وَسُورَةُ الْفَتْحِ أَتَتْ فِي اللَّيْلِ Surah Al-Fath was revealed at night. وَآيَةُ الْقِبْلَةِ أَيْ فَوَلِّ And the verse concerning the change of the qibla, he said also happened at night. قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا فَوَلِّ وَجْهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ Now, there's an ikhtilaf here concerning whether it came at night or not. Because they are saying it came at night based on some narrations. So some narration says, when the news reached Banu Amr, they turned in the prayer. Some narration says they turned in the prayer. It was Salatul Fajr, which means the revelation came at night. The person went out to tell them, and he reached them at Fajr. Some say it was Salatul Asr. Some narrations say it was Salat al-Asr, which means that it was revealed during the day. By the time the person reached to give them the news, it was already Salat al-Asr. So, Al-Imam al-Bulqini, rahimahullah. Al-Bulqini is the one who wrote the Mawaqi' al-Ulum, which we said is, according to Imam al-Suyuti, the first real book. Not real book, all the others are real. The first book that really spoke about the topic of Ulum al-Qur'an as an independent subject. So Imam al-Suyuti based his work on the work of Al-Imam al-Bulqini. And this is based on the work of Al-Imam al-Suyuti. So al-Suyuti followed al-Bulqini in this. And so the author followed Al-Imam al-Suyuti in this, to say that the verse of the Qibla was revealed at night. However, Al-Imam al-Suyuti himself in other books, as well as Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Imam al-Nawawi and others, they disagree with this. So they would say no, the verse of the Qibla was revealed during the day, not during the night. Yeah, anyway, so at the end of the day, it's a difference of opinion. وَقَوْلُهُ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ قُلْ بَعْدُ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ وَالْخَتْمُ سَهُلٌ And after that he said, the verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu, O Prophet, قُلْ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ Say to your wives, وَبَنَاتِكَ And to your daughters, وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ And to the believing women to cover themselves. The verse of Al-Hijab was revealed during the night. The one, he says, أعني التي فيها البنات. I mean the one that has the daughters, the one that mentioned daughters. لا التي, not the one خصت بها أزواجه فأثبت or فأثبت, not the one that only talk about the wives. So, establish this. Be firm about this. The 59th verse of Surah Al-Ahzab. That is the one that he's referring to in the poem. And then he says, وَآيَةُ الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ أي خُلِّفُوا بِتَوْبَةٍ يَقِينًا. The verse that talks about the three people. So, anyway, we'll talk about it after. أي خُلِّفُوا, those that stayed behind the Battle of Tabuk. Those that stayed behind. بِتَوْبَة, meaning in Surah At-Tawbah, يَقِينًا, يعني it was revealed at night for certain. When he says here, for certain, he's talking about it being revealed at night. And for sure, this was revealed at night. So basically, Surah At-Tawbah, the verse that talks about the three people who remained behind, this was revealed at night. So this was basically Surah the Battle of Tabuk, and they were preparing for the battle, and three of them didn't join the army for different reasons. One of them procrastinated in the preparation, and so by the time he got everything he needed, the army had already left, and he couldn't catch up. One of them was old. He thought he was exempted for his old age. So different reasons. So the three that he's referring to is Murrah ibn al-Rabi' and Ka'ab ibn Malik and Hilal ibn Umayyah. So وعلى الثلاثة الذين خلفوا حتى إذا ضاقت عليهم الأرض بما رحبت وضاقت عليهم أنفسهم وظنوا أن لا ملجأ من الله إلا إليه. فهذه بعض ليلي على أن الكثير بالنهار نزل. This or these are just a few examples of those that were revealed at night. As for those that were revealed during the day, they are many. In other words, I'm not going to even give an example, because the norm is that Qur'an was revealed during the day. The exception is that some came at night. So I'll give examples of the lesser, anything that occurred less. As for that which occurred more, that's just the norm of it. So I won't give examples for that. It's just there are many. Majority of the Qur'an. Then he said, وَالسَّابِعُ وَالثَّامِنُ, the seventh and the eighth, الصَّيْفِ وَالشِّتَاءِ, those that were revealed during the summer and those that were revealed during the winter. Again, the greater point that he is establishing is that the Qur'an, though it was revealed in different circumstances, is mutashabihum mathani. The language is consistent and the level of the Qur'an is basically the same, though if somebody was writing during the winter, would be different than if he was writing during so you would notice the human change if this was coming from a human being. So he said, صَيْفِيُّهُ كَآيَةِ الْكَلَالَةِ وَالشِّتَائِيُّ كَالْعَشْرِ فِي عَائِشَةِ. So an example of the summer verse is that concerning the kalala. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْكَلَالَةِ, or يَسْتَفْتُونَكَ قُلْ اللَّهُ يُفْتِيكُمْ فِي الْكَلَالَةِ. The kalala is somebody who dies and he doesn't have anybody to inherit his wealth. So he doesn't have any heirs to inherit the wealth. This is called kalala. So the verse of kalala is the verse in Surah Nisa that يَسْأَلُونَكَ يَسْتَفْتُونَكَ, they seek your fatwa concerning the kalala. قُلْ اللَّهُ يُفْتِيكَ فِي الْكَلَالَةِ, say that Allah will give you the fatwa concerning al-kalala. وَالشِّتَائِي, an example of the winter verses are the 10 that were revealed An example of the winter verses is the 10 revealed to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, concerning Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, meaning hadithat al-ifk. When they spread the rumor about Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha committing zina. And she was awaiting the revelation for Allah Azza wa Jal to free her name. And then finally, after a while, 10 verses were revealed. So he said those 10 verses were revealed during the winter. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنْكُمْ, to the end of that 10, يعني to لَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. So from verse 10 to verse 20 of Surah An-Nur. Even here there's some dispute concerning whether this was revealed during the summer or the winter. Because they are saying it was revealed during the winter because of a narration that described certain circumstances, described the way the Prophet ﷺ was. Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala in Al-Itqan said that that's an interpretation that may not be correct. And he gave his reasons why he thinks that it's not correct. So it might be an example of what was revealed during the winter, or it may not, because there's ikhtilaf. But at the end of the day, the author is not really concerned about the specifics. The author is concerned about basically communicating the idea that some verses were revealed during the summer and some were revealed during the winter. Again, coming back to the ultimate point of these changes are not represented in the language of the Qur'an. Then he said, وَالتَّاسِعُ, the 9th, those revealed to the Prophet ﷺ when he was in bed. In the Arabic it says al-firashi. In bed means literally in bed. It does not mean while he was asleep. It means while he was on his bed, whether he was asleep or he was not asleep. So the point of saying firashi is not to say while he was asleep. It's to say he was on his bed when the revelation came. As for whether he received revelation while he was asleep or not, there's ikhtilaf among the ulama concerning that. Anyway, example, he said, كآية الثلاثة المقدمة في نومه في بيت سلمة. An example of this would be the ayah that talked about the 3 that we already mentioned about. The ayah of the 3, meaning the 3 people that lagged behind. Murrah and Ka'b and Hilal. That ayah, he said, he gave it as an example of what was revealed at night. Now he's giving it also as an example of what was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was on his bed. He said, fi nawmihi. Now he said it happened while he was asleep. Here the ulama differ. Did the Prophet ﷺ ever receive revelation while he was asleep? So Al-Imam Al-Rafi'i rahimahullah, Imam Al-Rafi'i is a major scholar in the Shafi'i school. In the Shafi'i madhab, the later formation, around the 6th Hijri century, we had a organizing of the madhab. The literature of the madhab grew wide. And there's a lot of unsorted out things in the madhab. Narrations of positions, ijtihadat of the early ulama, differences of opinion concerning matters that people are communicating in different ways. they are giving different reasons for, and if different justifications for the reasons, for the rulings, it became very vast. So during that period, we had many attempts at sorting out the madhab, for lack of better words. So one of the main ijtihadic activity of the Shafi'i scholars of that period was to go through the books that we have that were being taught and distributed in the ummah, and to really verify every position, examine every position, examine the narration of each position. When they say Imam al-Shafi'i said, or any of the earlier scholars said, examine that narration, examine the differences among what the different books are saying, the different justifications, to really sort out what the madhab is. So during that period of that effort, two stood out and became the pillars of the madhab. The works of Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, and the works of Imam al-Rafi'i. So these two became known as Ash-Shaykhan, the two shaykhs. So in the Shafi'i literature that followed that period, anytime you see Ash-Shaykhan, the two shaykhs, it's referring to Imam al-Nawawi and Imam al-Rafi'i. Abul Qasim, Abdul Karim al-Rafi'i. Imam al-Rafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. I only say that so you know the seriousness of the position. Because Imam al-Rafi'i said, who is that? So it's an authoritative position. Imam al-Rafi'i said that no revelation came to the Prophet ﷺ while he was asleep. There's no revelation, there's no sound narration of any revelation that came to the Prophet ﷺ while he was asleep. Everything that came to him while he was in a awakened state. So at no point can somebody say, how can we trust a person saying that he got revelation while he was asleep? How can you remember that clearly? How can we trust? We all have dreams. We all wake up and we can't remember clearly our dreams. Now this is a person saying that God is speaking to him, but he got this while he was asleep. So based on that reasoning, I think that what prompted the whole discussion. Some of them say, no, he never received anything while he was asleep. And if we examine each narration that indicated he was asleep while he got revelation, we'll find that they are not sound narrations. So this is the position of Imam al-Rafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, and many others that followed him. Others say no. This problem is not a problem when it comes to the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Prophet ﷺ, his sleep is not like our sleep. If each of us, close your eyes. If you close your eye now, that awareness that you have right now, that's the awareness the Prophet ﷺ had while he was asleep. The Prophet ﷺ was commanded to pray tahajjud. Tahajjud was wajib for the Prophet ﷺ. To recite the Qur'an during the night was wajib for the Prophet ﷺ. From very, very, very early. The second thing that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, Al-Mudaththir, made it wajib for the Prophet ﷺ to stand at night. Surah Al-Muzammil, made it wajib. He had to stand. So once Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha saw him sleeping, and she asked, why are you not praying? Why are you not doing dhikr? And he said, how do you know that I'm not in dhikr? That the eyes might be asleep, but the heart is qa'imun. The heart is standing in dhikr to Allah. Indicating what? So he's telling Aisha When you look at me and my body looks asleep, that's not what's going on inside. Like, I'm not like you and the others. So if this is the state of the Prophet ﷺ when he's asleep, then there's no problem when he wakes up and say, this revelation came to me. He was very aware of what he was doing. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said that the dreams of prophets the dreams of prophet are revelations. So even if you want to say it's asleep and he was dreaming, he himself said his dreams and the dreams of all prophets are revelation. So even if that's the case, it was revelation. So when he said X was revealed to me, X being example, not that X was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, we can trust 100% that there is no obscurity in that transmission. However, the position of Imam al-Rafi'i that the Prophet ﷺ did not receive any revelation while he was asleep is a position maintained by many of the ulama. Even Imam al-Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala in Al-Itqan said that statement of Imam al-Rafi'i is a very strong and justified statement. Anyway, so the poem said that it was revealed, that verse was revealed while the Prophet ﷺ was asleep in the house of Salama. This also raises a problem, because Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said that the Prophet ﷺ received no revelation in the house of any of his wives except mine. Aisha. So sort of, because there was some, I don't know how to describe, I don't want to describe the wrong word. So I'll just say thing. There's something among the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha would make a lot of statements in that regard. One of them was she would boast that in all of their houses, the Prophet ﷺ never received revelation. In mine, he did. So, but this is saying that he received this ayah specifically in the house of Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha. So does that affect, does the statement of Aisha affect the validity of the narration that the Prophet ﷺ received this revelation in the house of Salama? No. Because there are many ways that you can explain it. Aisha didn't know that this was revealed in her house. So when Aisha made that statement, it was basically a lack of knowledge about this ayah and where it was revealed. B, it could be that this narration, that Aisha's statement happened before this occurred. So basically when she's saying it so far, only my house. But then this happened. So there are many ways you can look at it and understand. And we know that even ulama from the companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum, sometimes they give a narration and they didn't know about something that happened in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And then when they were informed about it by other companions, that's when they're basically learning that. So when we say she didn't know, it's not to take away from her scholarship. She was, if not the greatest scholar of the religion after the Prophet ﷺ, she was among the greatest of the ulama of the ummah. She's among the greatest mujtahid scholars that ever lived. So it's not taking anything away from her. وَيَلْحَقُهُ النَّازِلُ مِثْلُ الرُّؤْيَا لِكَوْنِ رُؤْيَا الْأَنْبِيَاءِ وَحْيًا. And like this, so the author is saying, like this that we just mentioned, the verse of the 3 people that lagged behind was revealed during sleep in the house of Salama. Like that, anything that came to the Prophet ﷺ while he was asleep is considered revelation. Now he's just bringing that, not Qur'an, It's revelation. So it may not be Qur'an, it might be a vision the Prophet ﷺ had about something, and he told us it's part of his wahi. It's part of his revelation, even if it may not be Qur'an. So he's basically saying this to counter the view that the Prophet ﷺ did not receive revelation during sleep. Not the view particularly, but the reasoning for it. Because this has no place in the poem. It's not talking about anything related to Qur'an. It's not just talking about generally the dreams of the Prophets are revelations. But why he's bringing it to say is that I am aware of that other view and their justification. So I'm just saying this to justify what I just mentioned. That the Prophet ﷺ received that ayah in his sleep. And then he says, وَالْعَاشِرُ أَسْبَابُ النُّزُولِ. The 10th is concerning the concept of circumstances of revelation. Maybe we'll have to continue from here in the next session, inshallah ta'ala. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.